Hello YouTube, this is Champion 2D Rob back again. Sorry it's been a while. I know I've been meaning to make this video for a bit, but the last couple of weeks have been actually quite busy. So would you believe that? Yes, I've been quite busy the last couple of weeks. So I haven't been able to get around to making this video. Fortunately, this week I have a few days off, so I figured this would be a perfect time to start making this video. Um, you don't want to leave it too long, get caught with a backlog of vids that you need to make. So it's important I got around to making this vid as soon as possible. Anyway, yes, so basically this vid is about just sort of my impressions with the PS4 and just sort of my thoughts on current gen gaming, which is actually relevant to the fact that E3 just been and gone. They just put out the press conferences not too long ago for Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Ubisoft, EA, etc. And I thought it'd be a nice way to sort of talk very briefly about what I thought of the of E3 as well. And of course, I also wanted to talk about some of the games I've been playing. Just on a side note, if I'm sniffing a lot, it's only because I've got a lot of hay fever right now, so I'm a bit bunged up. So excuse me for that. Anyway, jumping straight in. Most of you guys that have seen my videos know that I recently picked up a PS4. I did decide to wait for a while. I took my time with picking one up, mainly because I was quite backlogged with PlayStation 3 and sort of busy playing other games as well. But I just saw no need to jump straight into the current gen. I was perfectly happy with what I had to play. And also, to be perfectly honest with you, there's the games that were sort of coming out at launch and then sort of subsequently. I mean, some of them were great and definitely games I wanted to play, but it was nothing that was just saying, I have to get it now. But of course, then Uncharted 4 dropped, and that was basically it for me. I had to buy the system for that. The Uncharted series has just been one of my favourite gaming franchises of all time. Absolutely enjoy the Uncharted series. It's just absolute fantastic. Just an absolute joy. The first three games in the series are some of the most replayed games on the PS3. And I want to just make a point of this. I don't normally play a lot of these modern day games more than once. Usually I just play them once and then that's it. But the Uncharted games have I go back to them time and time again. I play through them at least twice a year. So I do very much enjoy those titles. So yeah, so of course I was eagerly anticipating Uncharted 4, which I'm going to go back to in a moment. I will talk about Uncharted 4 in a little bit later, but for the time being, yeah. So going back to what I was saying, yeah. So I decided to wait, and of course when Uncharted 4 came out, I thought now was the time to pick up a system. But in that time, I was sort of debating back and forth whether I'd even get a PS4 or even jump into current gen. Because the way this sort of industry is sort of going, I don't know. And it's not just that. Also, I think as I get older, um, I'm not going to say my interest in gaming what is waning. It's not. It's just I have less patience for what they're trying to do at the moment in terms of DLC. All this stuff with you got to pay a subscription for to go online now, and it's become such more of a long-term commitment that I just don't really have the patience to go through all that. Because to me, it's like I want to pick up a pad, I want to play a game, and that's it. If you start drip feeding me content that really should have been on the game in the first place, I've just got no time for it. I don't want this to devolve into some sort of rant or anything like that at all. That's not my intention. But like a perfect example would be Street Fighter 5. They released the game to the public with minimum content, and of course they plan on releasing content as time goes on. They're gonna add new characters. They're gonna add a story mode. They're gonna add all these features sort of in the long run. I'm not too sure if it's free content they're releasing or if it's paid content. I'm not too sure about that, but if it's paid content, that's not good because they release the game at full price and then they expect you to pay more as they sort of add more features. Now, some might say, well, this is no different than when they released like another physical copy of just an updated version. That's true, but at the same time, I don't consider that as new characters and stuff like that. I consider that more sort of gameplay tweaks. And of course, it's up to you whether to buy that. But I think something like a story mode, for example, is, that's the standard, I know some people don't really care about story in games, and that's fine. But, for someone like myself who grew up with Street Fighter, there's certain staples that I expect to see in the game, as a standard before you add any bells and whistles onto it. But anyway, enough about that. But yeah, so like this whole sort of DLC stuff, and of course, we're talking about VR now. It seems that both Microsoft and Sony are sort of redeveloping their current systems to give them faster processors and whatnot. And in some way, I can understand why they're doing this because graphics improves so quickly that like after a year of the console's release, it's already outdated compared to modern PCs. So I get why they want to sort of revise the system, but I think it's not going to work for consoles in the long run. And if this is the trend that they continue to go on, it's going to ultimately kill consoles. I think what they need to do, and this is just my own personal opinion, I think if they need to upgrade the hardware every now and again, rather than release a whole new console and make people double dip, triple dip, whatever, just release a console that allows you to remove parts as and when with a lot more ease, so that you can just focus on selling the parts and not a whole new system, because that's just going to piss a lot of people off, including myself. I mean, to be fair, I bought my PS4 knowing that the PlayStation Neo is coming. I knew that off the bat. But from what I'd heard, from the information I'd received, a lot of the improvements for the PlayStation Neo is so that the VR aspect can run a lot more smoother. So there's no frame rate drops and stuff like that when you're playing, because of course, if you're immersed like in a VR world, a slight frame rate drop is just going to take you out of it. So, speaking of VR, I had actually never tried any modern VR up until very, very recently. I was actually at a friend's house, and he happened to have the the one for the Samsung phone with the goggles that you put on the phone. He had one of those, and I actually got to try it at the house. And it was the first time I actually experienced sort of modern day VR, and and this is just like a phone, a smartphone with the goggles. And I've got to admit, I was actually very impressed by it. I thought it looked fantastic. I don't think it was 100% perfect, but for what it was, I thought it was brilliant. So I am very keen to see what PlayStation VR is going to be like, because I expect it to be a lot better in terms of build quality and whatnot. Is it enough for me to jump on board at this time? No, I don't think I'm going to jump on VR in the near future. It's definitely something I'm interested in seeing as time goes on. Maybe in the next 5 years, probably. But I'm not willing to shell out 300 plus for a VR headset. No way. I'm not going to do that. Because a lot of the games there seem to have been announced for it. Like there was the Arkham VR game. To me, they seemed more like. I mean, granted, not a lot of footage has been shown, but I don't know. They seem more like tech demos to me, and that's not enough for me to justify the expense on such a piece of hardware. Though I did like the idea of the new Resident Evil sort of being, you can play the game 100% with the headset on. That seemed quite cool. But since I'm not really big into horror games, although I do like my survival horror titles, it's not really a genre that I really want to invest in to that point. But yeah, so anyway, so there's stuff with the VR and whatnot, and I just don't know where I'm going to be, where my views are going to be in terms of gaming in the future. I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of VR, but if consoles start to become more like PCs, despite what I said previously, if consoles do start to become more like PCs, then I'm just going to invest in a high-end PC and just be done with it, to be honest with you. Because it just seems more practical. I know PCs are in generally more expensive, but I can do a lot more with a PC. So, if I can save space and still have the hardware and the flexibility to upgrade my hardware when I need to, then it seems to be the better option. Now, moving aside from all that, the stuff that I saw from Nintendo, um, well, there wasn't much to see really. It was basically the new Legend of Zelda game and the Pokemon games on the 3DS. Pokemon, I've got no interest in. Zelda game looked nice. It did look good. I was disappointed there was nothing about the NX. I know it's coming. They have kind of confirmed it, but there was no news on it, so I was quite disappointed by that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Legend of Zelda fan, so I wasn't that excited for the game. And the prospect of an open world Zelda game just does nothing for me because A, there's nothing new about an open world game, and one set in Hyrule just, I can take it or leave it. You know what I mean? It looks good though. I will give it that. But yeah, so in terms of this current gen gaming, I'm a bit uneasy. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like where it ultimately goes. So yeah, the jury's still out on that. But in terms of my PS4 and my experiences with the PlayStation 4, I've absolutely enjoyed it. I've loved it. I've been playing it non-stop since I bought it. Yeah, it's a great system. It really is. It's a massive improvement on a lot of levels over the PlayStation 3. I prefer the interface on the PS4. It's a lot smoother than the PS than the sorry. It's a lot smoother than the PS3. I prefer the interface. It's a lot easier than the PlayStation 3. Um, it's top marks across the board. I'm still getting used to the pad, the touchpad thing, and the the start button where it is. It's a bit weird, but I'm getting used to it. I'm not a fan of the rubber grips on the thumbsticks. I prefer the ones from the PlayStation 3. But ultimately, my experiences have been very good, and I have very much enjoyed it. So, anyway, I wanted to talk about some of the games I've been playing. Some I'll go into more depth than others, so there's a little stack here, so I'll just get through them. First one was Pure Pool. Now, this is the thing, actually. At the time that I bought the PlayStation 4, now some of you guys might scoff at this, but I actually had no idea that you had to pay a subscription to go online. Like, I thought that was an option, like it was in the previous gen with PlayStation 3. You could go online anyway, but if you paid like a subscription to PlayStation Plus, of course, you'd get more benefits and whatnot. But what I was actually completely unaware of was the fact that to go online, to play online, you need to have a PlayStation Plus subscription as a standard, otherwise you can't go online. Which basically, for me, rendered this game completely useless. I mean, you can still play it, like, single matches and whatnot, but the real meat and potatoes of this game is to play against other people online. Now, I was able to take this game online very briefly because they do offer like a trial period for PlayStation Plus. But the thing is, while I'm not against getting a PlayStation Plus subscription, I just don't think I would use it enough to justify the subscription. It's not a lot of money. I think it's about £40 a year, which is it's not a lot of money. And I was doing some sums, and I could afford it. But the thing is, I just don't know if I would use it enough to justify going online with it. But at the same time, the online component is such an important part of gaming nowadays. And I have a lot of friends that have PlayStation 4s, and a lot of them have a lot of the games that I like to play. So I would like to go online and play with them, you know. So it's something to consider in the future. But I think for now, anyway, I don't know when I'll pick it, when I'll get a subscription. But yeah, it's kind of annoyed me because I wanted to really enjoy this game because I like playing pool. But the fact that there's no online component with it at the moment, for me, just kind of, yeah, it makes the game kind of useless, really. That's a shame. Next game I played a bit of, and that's Transformers Devastation. Now, when I actually picked this game up in one of my pickup videos, I did state that I was starting to lose interest in these sort of arena-based hack and slash sort of games, which is basically what it is. I mean, if you're a fan of like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, that's basically what this game is. But the reason why I picked it up was, of course, because of the license. Because it's sort of based around the Generation 1, the first generation of Transformers, the cartoon that I grew up with when I was a kid. So I wanted to give it a chance. And fortunately, I've absolutely loved this. It's been fantastic, despite the fact that it does fall into a genre that I'm losing interest in. For me, the license was enough. I mean, I literally, when I was playing this game, I was just smiling. Yeah, there was just so much fan service in this game. Really made me feel like a little kid again when I used to watch the cartoons. Like, I'm just such a big fan of the old show. Massive fan. And this definitely plays into that nostalgia for me. But aside from that, the game itself plays really well. I mean, it's repetitive. It's not a deep game by any means. But I like the way you can integrate your vehicle mode with your robot mode, and the fact that you can also combine attacks from robot to vehicle mode. I thought it's really clever. I think the way that Platinum Games have utilized the transformation to vehicle mode and still enabled you to incorporate it into your attacks is fantastic. It plays really well. It's very satisfying to hit your opponents. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, like I say, it's a very shallow game. I think this game really shouldn't have been a full retail release at the start, but nowadays it's a cheap game, so it's definitely worth picking up at the current price point. But yeah, it's a fun game. I haven't put too much time into it because I've been busy playing other titles, but it is definitely fun, and I'm glad I picked it up. So yeah. Okay, moving on. Mortal Kombat XL. Now, I did talk about this game more than I wanted to in my last pickup video, so I won't talk too much about it. But I will say that it is a fun title, and for me anyway, I felt it really lived up to the Mortal Kombat legacy. It's got loads of characters. The storyline seems great. I love the graphics. The gameplay is solid. It's just a lot of fun. And I think, please don't dismiss, you know, these current 2D fighters because you think it's not going to appeal to you, because honestly, if you like Mortal Kombat, you'll enjoy these games. This is definitely Mortal Kombat back on form. I think since NetherRealm came back with Mortal Kombat 9, I think they've been hitting it out of the gate. It's fantastic, absolutely a great title. And I definitely, if you're going to get Mortal Kombat X, make sure you get Mortal Kombat XL. Okay, next title I've been playing, and I just felt like playing this. I've played it multiple times on the PlayStation 3. I keep going on about this game, and of course I had to get it on the PlayStation 4, and that is The Last of Us Remastered. I played through it. I played both the original game and Left Behind, which was the additional a game that was added later on. It was a DLC on the PlayStation 3 version, but it is on disc on this particular version. And of course I was curious to see what graphical improvements, the fact that it was running at 60 frames per second and all that stuff. And to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't really notice much of a difference playing this game compared to the previous one. I don't know, like maybe I just don't see it. Personally, I think it was a bit smoother, I think. I don't know, it does seem very fluid, it seems faster. But I in terms of graphical quality, I didn't notice any real improvements, to be perfectly honest with you. But it was still an experience to play. I mean, the game itself is a must. It's a fantastic title, but in terms of sort of the added improvements that they did to this version, I don't really notice that much. Still a lot of fun though, and it was great finally being able to play the additional mission Left Behind, which I very much enjoyed. Um, it didn't fully live up to my expectation on the whole, but I did enjoy it because I loved the story of The Last of Us, and Left Behind was a great little add-on, so I appreciated it on that level. But I thought the game as a whole, the added game, was okay. It was fun. It was good. It was more than okay. That calling it okay is definitely not the word I'd choose. It was a good game, but it wasn't a great game. But as a whole, yeah, like I say, I didn't really notice much of a difference, personally. Okay, now moving on to these next two games. This next one here is one that I played not knowing what to expect. I did think that it looked fantastic, but I wasn't too sure if it was going to be a game that I would like or not. I just thought that visually it looked very good. But it was a gamble. But fortunately, it was a cheap game as well, so it wasn't that much of a risk. And the game I'm talking about is Gravity Rush Remastered. And I've fully completed this game. Well, I'm still playing the added missions, but I've completed the main campaign and most of the side stories. They added basically the sort of what was DLC on the PlayStation Vita version. It's all included here, so you've got a lot of all the side stories, and I'm sort of currently playing through the side stories now. I've played through most of them now. I'm pretty much done with the game. I think I've got a couple more missions left to go through. But yeah, this is a fun game, guys. Really good game. I really enjoyed this game. I didn't know what to expect, but this game it's really pretty to look at for one thing. But also it's just there's a charm to this game. It really did remind me of the classic old games of like the 16-bit era where it was there's no dialogue. The story is minimal, but it's so much charm, and it's fun to play. It has it captures those qualities that I remembered from the old 8-bit and 16-bit days, where it really was about gameplay and atmosphere as opposed to like story and stuff. And that's not to say there's no story in this game, because there is. There's a decent story here, but it's just it has this style to it. Like, for example, there's no FMV cutscenes. They're all sort of static, sort of comic book style panels with like bubbles where the speech comes up. It's sort of like that. It's got just a great sort of style to it, which gives it a lot of charm. And I love the music in this game as well. Like, as you travel to different cities, it plays this music, and it is really a joy to listen to. So I very much enjoyed the music and the atmosphere of this title. It was just so much fun. And as a budget title, it is an absolute must-have. I mean, this game is less than £15. You have to check it out, guys. It might not be for everyone, but it's not going to break the bank if you give it a try. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But it's definitely a lot of fun to play, and I think the style of the game, the way you play, the way you can defy gravity, you can control gravity. I mean, if you just watch gameplay vids, it looks more complicated than how it actually plays. Because that was my concern. I thought, well, this looks a bit tricky. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to grips with the camera and how to position myself to attack, because you have to constantly shift gravity, because you can go from the ground to the side of a building, and then the camera switches so you can run up and down buildings and stuff. But it is actually a lot easier than how it seems. And what makes me happy is the fact that this game is getting a sequel. It's coming out this year, so I'm really chuffed, because the sequel is a lot better looking, for one thing, because it's been built for the PS4, as opposed to this, which was originally made for the Vita. And that's to say, this game still looks fantastic. It still looks absolutely amazing. But yeah, for a PS4 game, it does seem quite simple. I mean, there's nothing that the PS3 couldn't do, but it's still a gorgeous looking game. So I'm very happy that the sequel is being built for the PS4, because that looks amazing as well. So yeah, this is a gem, absolute gem, fantastic. So much fun, and I didn't even intend to play it through. I just intended to sort of put it on for about 10 minutes just to see how the game would play, and I just wound up spending hours on it. And yeah, and I ended up going back to it and put all the other games aside, and yeah, just a brilliant title. So yeah, can't recommend it enough, guys. And of course, lastly, yeah, Uncharted 4. Now this is a title that, you know, it's been getting a lot of praise from people. You know, it seems to be, you know, praised across the board. I think so. Some people have criticised it from a story standpoint, saying that the beginning is a bit slow and whatnot. And I have to say now, at the time, I did not know this particular bit of information, and that was that it was written by the same guy that wrote The Last of Us. I did not know that when I started playing the game. But it did dawn on me as I was playing the game, from the story just did seem very Last of Us-ish. Like it was a bit of a slow burn. I mean, it ramps up, and it ramps up really good. But it did kind of have that Last of Us feel to it, and that was just my initial thoughts, not even knowing that it was actually written by the same guy. So it does feel a little bit different compared to the prior Uncharted games, but despite that, it's still very much an Uncharted title. I mean, don't let that fool you. I mean, this game has all the action, the adventure that you would expect from Uncharted, but it's definitely a much more mature Nathan Drake. You know, he's, you know, not to give too much away, but he's basically a guy that's put all his adventuring days, you know, behind him. He wants to move on, he wants to settle down, but his brother shows up and he basically gets pulled back into it. But yeah, it was so much fun. This was an absolute joy to play. It was definitely the game that, a great game for me to sort of try the PlayStation 4 for the first time. And I don't think anyone will argue with me that, you know, that this was a great starting point to jump into sort of current gen, because obviously this was the first game I had to play, and yeah, went through it and I absolutely enjoyed it, and I look forward to playing this game again at some point. I'll definitely play it again at some point this year. I'm just still going through the games I picked up for the PlayStation 4, so I don't know when I'm going to go back to this game, but I will be going back to this game again at some point this year. I might do a marathon, because I do want to pick up the Nathan Drake collection. I know, you know, it's a remaster, whatnot, but I like having the series for one system. So that to me, that's just my OCD. So I'll definitely want to pick up that at some point. But yeah, brilliant title. I thought the ending though, and this is not giving anything away, I'm not going to sort of go into details or anything, but I thought the ending was it reminded me a bit of the Goonies, the movie The Goonies. It was a bit Goonish. It did cross my mind when I saw this particular moment in the game. It did make me think of the Goonies. But ultimately, yeah, it's a brilliant title, and it's an absolute must-have. Like, if you have a PlayStation 4 and you don't have this title, what the hell are you doing? Get it. So that's it, guys. That's basically my thoughts. I hope you like this video, guys. I know I've been meaning to put it out for a while. Sorry for the wait, guys, but you know, life gets in the way. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. Of course, leave your thoughts below. I'd like to hear what you guys think. What are your opinions on the games? What are your opinions on anything I've said? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? If you think I'm full of shit, just tell me. Tell me in the comments below, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And of course, I will be back at some point very, very soon. Bye-bye.